in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a very busy day for you.
Yes.
Okay. So let's just make sure we've got. I think Evan's making sure we've got good mic sounds from your mic and
everything. I think I turned it back on, so I should be.
Okay, that's good. So let's talk a little bit about. I mean, today's sort of momentum aside for a moment, okay?
Sure.
Let's give some folks some foundation first about what it is we're here to talk about.
Yep.
So I just want to bring up your website while we're chatting.
Okay.
And so for more people who want to, and I think that Evan will probably put this on the screen for us anyways, but if people go to yegslutwalk.com, they're going to find a whole bunch of information. So
yes.
what is this? Why should people be concerned about this?
What is Slut Walk? Okay, well, let me give you a bit of background information. In April, there was
of this year?
Yes, of this year.
Yeah.
There was a safety seminar held at York University's Osgoode Law School.
Okay.
And it was run by 2 police officers, one of whom has been making the news quite a bit because of this, and his name is Michael Sanguinetti. Now, during the personal safety seminar that the students were getting at York University, according to accounts from people who were there, he interrupted the more senior officer, and he said, "I know I'm not supposed to say this, but let's not beat around the bush. Women should avoid dressing like sluts in order not to be victimized." So he was basically telling people they can avoid being sexually assaulted by wearing the right clothes.
Right, yeah, that's right. Okay.
And as anyone who has done any kind of real research and education into this issue knows, that attitude is absolutely completely unfounded.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was the student.
Sorry, just quick. Yeah. In terms of research, is there any research on your website?
Yes, we do provide some resources and some links to resources. Mostly, like what we've done under resources there is that we've linked several good resources that have better statistics.
Sure, the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton.
Yeah. The website, if you scroll down a little bit further, this one, Women Against Violence Against Women, has excellent information on their site on statistics and rape myths. So
once again, if you head to yegslutwalk.com, and in this case, /resources, you'll find a full list of websites and some statistics from different groups that have taken it upon themselves to make this a priority for them. That's why they exist, or certainly it's something that it's important to them.
But I will say, though, that when we talk about statistics related to rape and sexual assault, we do have to recognize that statistics don't really give us the full picture of what's going on in our culture, simply because, the vast majority, I think, the last Statistics Canada estimate was something like 90% of sexual assaults are never reported to the police.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a very difficult subject all the way around, even when you're trying to get more information about it, just because of the nature of the issue, right?
Yes.
And I'm just looking at some of the statistics here at Women Against Violence Against Women. And there's a statistic that says that in 2004 in Canada, there were 546,000 sexual assaults, 72,000 in BC, okay? Now, I mean, 2004, hello, it's 11, right?
Yes.
And so there's some really outdated stuff, and of course that doesn't surprise me because
it's definitely a problem, like doing academic feminist writing, like you're always out there looking for those types of sources, and it's amazing how outdated some of the sources are and that we don't actually have access to updated, current, relatively reliable information on these issues.
Right. Ongoing, open data in real time, it's tough. Okay, so that was the trigger point event that happened in Toronto.
Yes, it was.
Right?
That was the thing that sparked the whole movement. And so what happened was that the student newspaper at York University first broke the story. It was picked up by sort of other members of the public. So the 2 women who founded Toronto Slut Walk, or Slut Walk Toronto rather, they are not students at York, but they had just heard about this incident, and they decided that they wanted to do something about it.
So the name comes about because of the mention itself and the use of that word in the mention itself. So
Yes.
picking up from that, this is where the original organizers of the first one in Toronto decided to run with that, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so then yourself as part of the, now is there an organizing committee? There's yourself and some others
Yes,
that are
there's
involved?
myself. There's 3 other ladies. That would be Christy Coleman, Anna Joy Glover, and Angela Ostafachuk.
Okay. And so what was it about, this sort of issue that sparked this particular event for you? Were you involved in this raising awareness for this issue before this happened?
I have been. I have a history as a feminist blogger. I started feminist blogging in about 2006.
But that's not unique to this particular issue, though. That's
no,
right?
no, it's not. But it was through those experiences that I started to learn more about victim blaming and about rape culture.
Okay.
And obviously, it's a very hot topic in academic feminist circles, but unfortunately, this conversation rarely gets outside of those circles.
Sure.
And so,
well, it is today.
Well, it is today, and you know that was I think one of the major aims of Slutwalk in Toronto when they first started was to get the word out there, get this conversation and this dialogue happening amongst the public, and not just in the classroom and not just on the blogs.
Okay, so let's talk about the dialogue, okay? Because we can say that all day long, but then actually not get into what the real issues are, the real maybe some solutions, or talk about solutions. So let's talk about what is the outcome of this that we hope for besides general awareness for the issue. Okay. What is the outcome?
Well, one is that we hope that by raising awareness that victims in the future, like victims of sexual assault in the future, and even in the past, will feel more comfortable coming forward to report the crimes to the police, knowing that there is a community out there behind them that isn't going to judge them and isn't going to question them and isn't going to try to blame them and ask them what they could have done differently to prevent what happened to them.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of about letting the community as a whole know that there is support there.
Sure.
Another thing is that we really feel that organizations like the Edmonton Police Service and other kind of government-sponsored organizations that are dealing with these issues get better training in how to approach the public about these issues, and also a better understanding of the experiences of what victims go through and how to handle things.
So what has been your experience then in terms of better training? What do you believe that they get, or what do you know in terms of training that they get now?
Well, I can't answer to that. I'm not aware.
Okay.
So
it would probably be a good thing maybe to have hopefully a spokesperson from the EPS maybe converse with you as to what maybe the training, whatever training there is, maybe go through that a bit, and then maybe find out where there might be improvements or where the community can help them better understand the issue.
we are aware of Superintendent Danielle Campbell, who is one of the people in EPS who's been strongly behind the Don't Be That Guy campaign. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I haven't.
It's a public service campaign aimed at...
Actually, now that you mention it, yes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
At alcohol-facilitated sexual assaults,
right,
and so I mean we're not currently like liaising with her at this time.
Right.
I mean this is about public voices, like getting out there, right? But one of the results that we do hope will come out of this is that we can start to talk with people inside the police departments, find out what's happening.
Yeah.
And
sort of an official liaison between the two groups. Having a discussion.
I mean, I will say that like Slutwalk is not an official organization yet.
Right.
It is simply grassroots movement of people of both genders who feel passionately about this issue and want to raise awareness and want to get this message out.
Well, it's completely unacceptable. It's simple. There's no excuse, and there's absolutely no excuse for organizations to make. In this particular case, this Toronto Police member made an unfortunate comment, but it demonstrates sort of an understanding, or I think, in my opinion, it demonstrates sort of a default position, if you will, that he chose to voice publicly.
Yes.
And so that's a problem. That's an underlying problem.
It is, and I think although the Toronto Police Service and Edmonton Police Service both, their official position is that that cop is wrong, and he was told not to say those things. I think as individuals, there are a lot of people in those positions of power who still do hold those points of view and who still do believe those things. And so despite the fact that officially as an organization they may not think that, on an individual level, when someone who's been sexually assaulted goes into the police station to make a report, they need to feel safe and they need to feel confident that they will be believed and taken seriously.
In all of the places that they could possibly go, they definitely have to feel safe there. That's the whole point of the organization. Okay, so then that's great foundation, great background for how we got to today.
Yes.
Okay. So now yourself and the organizing group have been working on this for how long? For the local.
Yeah. Well, the Toronto Slut Walk took place on April 3rd, and I think about a week later was when the seed was planted to do one in Edmonton.
Okay. And so middle of April, you've been working on this.
We have.
You get the website up.
Yes.
You get a little bit of more organization going and moving forward. And so what are some of the organizational tasks that you've been taking on?
Me personally, or just all together as a group?
Collectively, right?
Well,
the steps.
The first thing we did when we knew that we wanted to have one of these was contact the City of Edmonton to find out if there were any procedures we needed to go through, if there were any concerns from the city that we needed to address in our planning.
And what area of the city infrastructure did you contact?
Unfortunately, I can't give you that answer. It hasn't been me that has been directly dealing with the city. It has been Angela, and so she could probably answer that if she was here. But But yeah,
so we don't know what department that you guys are talking to.
No, and actually it's funny because I just took a call from a reporter at iNews 880 who was looking for the same information, and so I went back through our emails with this person, and she doesn't have that information in her email signature, so I can't give you an answer to that off the top of my head.
Okay, well,
yes.
Okay, well there you go, iNews 880, you got a bump from us, you're doing some work on this, but we're live, we're talking about it. Okay, great, so you're learning about the process, about what you need to do to.
We are definitely,
to be in compliance. I guess.
It's been a huge learning experience for all of us, just in terms of dealing with backlash, dealing with criticisms, dealing with logistics, and all of those things.
Well, let's talk about those things. So, focusing still on the logistics of this. We'll get to the backlash stuff later, okay?
Okay.
But let's deal with what are the steps in order for you to do what it is you intend to do, and again on your website. Under event info, it's laid out as to what you intend to do. June 4th, 2011, at 12:30 p.m., you were intending to be down at the legislative grounds, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So how has that changed, or what are we doing now?
Well, for now, it's still the case.
Okay.
I'm sure you were following what was going on Twitter earlier today. Basically, this is the story of what is going on between Edmonton Slut Walk and the City of Edmonton. When we initially decided that we wanted to do this, and this was actually before I was involved in the planning process, I was approached probably about a week after that because they were looking for someone with website development skills to run their website. So what they had done was they had submitted the necessary applications to the City of Edmonton detailing our plans and our proposed route and so forth.
Do you have an idea of when those applications went in?
Yes, I do. It was in mid-April.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's quite a while ago.
It was, yes. And so we were told at that time, no, you shouldn't have a problem. Now, I will say, to be fair, that neither Edmonton Slut Walk nor the City of Edmonton had any idea at that time how big this was going to be. They probably had, estimates range between 2,500 and 3,000, maybe 3,500 protesters in Toronto. So we were looking at Toronto and saying, well, that's a city that's 6 or 7 times the size of Edmonton.
Right.
So,
And the original comment happened there.
In Toronto,
right?
yes. So, all things being equal, we were sort of figuring, well, maybe we'll get 500 people. As it turns out, there's been a great deal more community interest in this event than that. So when we initially approached the city, they said, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. Then we didn't hear from them at all for the next almost 8 weeks until Wednesday, May the 25th, when they contacted us and told us that for an event this size, it's not realistic for us to keep the amount of people that will be attending on the sidewalks and out of traffic areas. So therefore, the event would require road closures and police presence on site. And so they're telling us that this is going to cost $2,000 and that we have to provide this within the next 10 days. So that's where things got a little hairy and a little hectic for us, between us and the city.
Right.
We feel a bit like they dropped the ball on this. They could have contacted us much earlier when they initially received our application to tell us these things may be concerns.
May happen, right? Well, let's talk about how we know. What sources of information are coming into to your group in terms of how we know how many people might show up?
Well, we're basically going right now on our Facebook page.
Okay.
There's a Facebook event page, which is linked actually from the main page on our website. There, you can hit.
There we go.
Yeah.
So people can RSVP
yeah,
there.
So we're climbing up to close to 3,000 now. But I mean, this of course is only a ballpark. Like, we all know how Facebook works. Sometimes people say they're going to stuff, they don't show up.
Yeah.
Sometimes they,
Absolutely.
they don't say that they're going, and then they do. So really, this number is fluid, and this is all we have to go on. And at the very beginning of this, there was no way that we could provide the city of Edmonton with a concrete number of what attendance was going to be like. We could only give them kind of like our best guesstimate based on what we had seen in Toronto.
Right.
So, and based on kind of the situation that happened in Vancouver just last weekend or 2 weeks ago, they had about 5,000 confirmed attendees on their Facebook page, and their turnout was about 2,500.
Okay, so 50%.
Yeah, so about 50% turnout compared to who RSVP'd.
Okay.
But I mean, it's impossible for us to say whether the same will be true of Edmonton or not.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, certainly, so situations like this, where we're talking about, this kind of scenario, obviously has caused a whole lot of people to become more aware of this. Certainly this is the first time you've been on our show.
Yes.
And you're here for this particular reason. And the reason that it came on our radar today was because of the entire discussion about the issue around, the $2,000, the late notification, these kinds of things. So where do we go from here? Where are you going from here? What do you hope to have happen?
Well, what we hope to have happen is that we can reach a compromise with the City of Edmonton, wherein they will continue to support us doing our original planned route in downtown Edmonton. We feel it's very important that this event be visible at the legislature grounds, be visible at Edmonton City Hall, be visible, in and around the Jasper Avenue area, which is, a high-profile public place in the city. And it's also a place where there's a lot of bars and a lot of, partying and that kind of thing. And those circumstances are often involved in situations where sexual assault has occurred.
Right.
And so we see it as an opportunity to reach the most amount of people at one time with our message. So what we are hoping to do is reach a compromise with the city where we will still be able to walk that route, but keep it off of the streets so that we can organize so that our group will be, on pedestrian and non-traffic areas rather than having to close down Jasper Avenue.
Right. So here's, I guess, talking about this sort of mentality, okay? And getting on to, this is a perfect time for us to segue into the backlash.
Sure.
Because just as we were sitting here talking, you're talking about the logistics of the event and so on, a tweet comes up, and the account is, it looks like LZM Furniture. It could be IZM Furniture, so at LZM Furniture, I think it is. They've used the hashtag, the YEG Slut Walk hashtag. And it says, doesn't the YEG Slut Walk happen every weekend on Jasper Avenue between 107 and 108 Street? Okay? So that's ridiculous,
of course
right?
It's ridiculous.
It's the exact kind of attitude that we're, collectively trying to
Absolutely.
Right? Go against
Absolutely.
here,
I mean,
right?
this person is clearly simply mocking the concept without doing any research whatsoever,
right,
and getting any education into what we're actually trying to do here.
Well, exactly, and that is probably the keying in on the word slut. That's what that is, right?
Yep.
And not understanding the entire foundation of how this thing progressed, and that's precisely why I asked you on the show here, because we want to get that foundation. We want people to understand. I've got a daughter, and this is important for all women. It's important for all men.
It is, absolutely.
And it's important that we get down to the deeper sense of it. And so fortunately, we have the ability here to sit. If we wanted to sit and talk all afternoon, we could do that.
We could, yeah.
Other media sources don't have that ability,
That's
right? But I wanted to ensure that we got a chance to dig into the basis of how we got here, what the issues are, what we hope will be the outcomes will be, and then who we need to talk to, who we need to reach out to get them to kind of come to the table and get a solution done, right? Because ultimately that's what I think needs to happen, and I obviously you would agree.
Yes.
So, you know, that's the kind of, but that's definitely, you know, the timing of that is.
Well, you know, I mean, it's not the first time we've gotten comments like that.
Right.
We know that the word slut is a loaded word with a lot of baggage, and so it's going to attract attention, period, and some of that attention will be positive and some of that attention will be negative.
Right.
Now, I mean, we as organizers have done absolutely everything in our power to try and educate people about exactly what it is that we're doing, to respond fairly to criticisms,
right,
and to address people's concerns. Now,
so what are some of the criticisms that have come your way that you would like to address?
Well, I think sort of like the three main criticisms that have come our way that we keep hearing over and over again. Number one is that our message is irresponsible,
right,
and that is because people still truly do believe that men are more likely to rape you if you're wearing a short skirt, that men are unable to control their lust if they see a woman in a short skirt and a low-cut top, so that, you know, the onus is no longer on them to prevent themselves from being lustful,
right,
but rather...
See, I find that offensive.
Very much so,
because,
yes.
You know, obviously that means that I have no control over anything. And listen, you know what, I have to agree that the fact that there are definitely, you know, let's be honest, there are men and women out there that are aggressive in this manner.
Very much so.
Okay, but certainly more men, obviously.
Yes.
And I think that, but to say that all men or, you know, even all women can't control your thoughts and that kind of thing, I mean, that's
well, we live in a civilized society.
excuse.
We expect people not to murder people when they want to kill somebody. We expect people not to rape other people when they want to have sex with somebody.
Right.
I mean, not to mention the fact that, you know, I mean, rape is not just about sex. It's not just about lust.
That's right.
It's a very complicated social and cultural issue.
Clearly about power in a lot of ways.
Power, about keeping women in their place.
Yeah.
You know, so if all of us are walking around being afraid that no matter what we do or what we say or where we go, there's always the threat of rape present, it keeps us in line, right?
Yeah. So, okay. Who from the city of Edmonton would you like to have reach out to you?
I would love to see Karen Leibovici reach out to us. I would love to see Stephen Mandel reach out to us. But, you know, if they can't, then that's fine. We just really want the city to understand our position, where it's that we feel like this is a legitimate public socio-political protest under the freedom of assembly in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, not a special event.
Right. Okay.
We have no budget. We have no supporting organization aside from Edmonton Small Press Association, who has agreed to let us use their liability insurance.
Yeah, they've stepped up. That's
yes,
correct.
They did. Yes,
and
because they would rather do that than see this event canceled due to these issues.
Yeah,
so.
That's right. And by the way, if you want to know more about those folks who have stepped up as a sponsor for this event, you just need to go to edmontonsmallpress.org, and you can learn more about what they're all about. And you know, kudos to them for stepping up and doing that on the insurance basis. They're putting their organization at risk, potentially.
They are.
Right?
Yeah.
By doing that.
They are.
And it states a lot about who they are as an organization to do that.
And I mean, you know, we're very, very hopeful that nothing will even come to that.
Sure.
Because, you know, the protests in Toronto, the protests in Vancouver, the protests in Ottawa, the protests in Boston, et cetera, they were all peaceful protests with no violence at all.
Right, yeah. And I would expect the same to be happening here.
Absolutely.
But so certainly so now the June 4th, that's the go date.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once again, folks, if you don't know where to get more information, Kasia here and the organizers have put together a great website at yegslutwalk.com. You can get all the information about the event date itself on June 4th. That's a Saturday, I believe.
It is.
Yes. Yep. And so you know, you can take some time off, except for those folks who work on the weekend. And find out more information there. Now, where can people reach out to you guys if they want to help? Either sort of maybe donate to the cause, come and volunteer, help somehow, get the word out.
You can get in touch with us on Twitter, and we're at YegSlutWalk. Also through our website, which, as Walter mentioned, is yegslutwalk.com. And if you just click on contact in the menu on the website there's email contact information for all of us. Also, you can post messages on our Facebook event page. All you have to do is go to Facebook and search for Edmonton Slut Walk.
Good. Great. Anything else you want to add to the folks that are watching?
Well, just going back to the whole controversy issue, like we touched on one kind of criticism and backlash that we've received, right?
Okay, yeah.
Which is that, your message is irresponsible and wrong because it's untrue.
Yeah.
The second issue, which has, I think, taken a lot of media attention away from the actual purpose and intent of this walk, is the use of the word slut. There's been a lot of controversy about it. Some people, and not just detractors of the cause, but also other feminists, have felt like using the word slut isn't constructive in this situation, because all it is doing is giving more power to the word rather than taking power away from it. We do respect that point of view, however, we disagree. We feel that the word slut is synonymous with a victim-blaming and rape culture. We feel that this word and the concepts that sort of support sluts, such as, provocative attire, promiscuity, those types of things, are all very much wrapped up in how, the public and the judicial system sees victims of sexual assault. And so we feel that whether you disagree with the word slut or not, whether you want to call yourself a slut or not, whether you want to take back the word or not, it's very important that we talk about what this word means to our culture. What are the concepts that are powering that word when it's used?
Right.
Those types of things.
Yeah, those undertones, right?
Absolutely.
Of thought that that happen. And of course, the prime example is how we got here in the first place with the comment, right? It basically all goes back to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so raising awareness about that.
Yeah.
So, more debate, more discussion about it, more awareness. I mean, certainly this is doing its job. Getting out and getting as much content like this out. What we're going to do with this show is we're going to turn this around. We're going to put it up on YouTube for you. And so you can then huck it up on your website. You can then put it up on your Facebook fan page, all of that kind of thing if you'd want to.
Absolutely, yes,
but,
for sure.
But it would be another form of media for people to consume and learn about what it is that you guys are trying to do and are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We are
clearly.
doing it.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
And you're welcome. I hope that the city responds and that they have some sort of solution for you.
Definitely.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.